Chapter 1. First Contact. Tom navigated the bustling corridors of the Interstellar Diplomatic Conference aboard the neutral space station, his eyes scanning the unfamiliar faces of countless alien species. As a human diplomat, it was his job to foster peace and understanding among the stars, but the atmosphere today felt unusually tense. He arrived at the main conference hall, where delegates mingled under the hum of low conversations. Suddenly, an alarm blared overhead, piercing the murmurs. Lights flickered, and the gravity stabilizers momentarily weakened, causing a brief, chaotic float among the attendees. A voice over the intercom announced, "Attention, all delegates. We are experiencing a malfunction in the life support systems. Please, remain calm and follow your sector leaders to the designated safety zones." Tom, familiar with the station's layout, quickly moved toward the engineering bay, his training kicking in. Along the way, he bumped into a slender figure with shimmering skin and reflective eyes, unmistakably Ariana, a delegate from the Zeltrax system. "Excuse me," Tom said, steadying her. "I'm heading to engineering to check out the problem. It might be quicker with some help." Ariana nodded, her voice a calm, melodic contrast to the surrounding disarray. "I possess some technical skills. I will assist you." Together, they hurried through the corridors, dodging other delegates and floating objects. Tom noted the way Ariana moved with a grace that seemed almost choreographed, her body intuitively adjusting to the shifts in gravity. Reaching the engineering bay, they were greeted by a scene of urgent activity. Technicians and robots were swarming over panels and conduits. Tom approached the chief engineer, a burly man named Carl, who was barking orders at a holographic display. "Carl, what's the situation?" Carl glanced over, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's the life support regulator. It's offline. Without it, we've got about 2 hours of breathable air left. We need to reset the regulator manually," Tom said, turning to Ariana. "Can you help me with the manual override? It's a 2-person job." Ariana nodded, her eyes narrowing with focus. "Lead the way." They moved to a large, cylindrical device connected by numerous conduits to the station's core systems. The panel was complex, an array of alien script and symbols that Ariana seemed to recognize. "Zeltraxian technology," she explained briefly, her fingers dancing over the symbols. "I can guide you through the reset procedure." Tom watched in awe as Ariana's hands moved with precision. "Tell me what to do." "Align these sequences," she directed, pointing to a series of glyphs. "Then, on my count, turn the release valve." Working together, they followed the sequence. Tom turned the valve as Ariana held down a sequence of buttons. With a hiss and a shudder, the machine whirred back to life, lights blinking green. Carl rushed over, a grin spreading across his face. "You did it. The system's coming back online." Tom wiped his brow, offering a smile to Ariana. "Nice work. I couldn't have done it without you." Ariana's lips curled into a rare smile. "Nor I without you." As they left the engineering bay, walking side by side, Tom felt a strange sense of camaraderie with the alien delegate. "So, Ariana, tell me more about Zeltrax. I'd love to learn more about your people." Ariana looked at him, her reflective eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps I will. There is much to share, and I find your human curiosity quite intriguing." Their conversation flowed as they made their way back to the conference hall, both unaware of how deeply this chance encounter would soon intertwine their fates. Chapter 2. A Curious Connection. After their successful collaboration in the engineering bay, Tom invited Ariana to join him for a meal in the space station's cafeteria. The room buzzed with a low hum of dozens of conversations, a mix of alien dialects blending into a symphony of interspecies discourse. They found a quiet table near a large viewport, offering a view of the star-strewn void outside. As they settled in with their trays of food, Tom's filled with a comforting selection of human favorites, and Ariana's with a collection of nutrient-rich pastes typical of her world, they resumed their conversation. "So, Ariana, you seemed quite adept with the technology back there," Tom began, breaking a piece of bread. "Is that common in your culture?" Ariana tilted her head, considering his question. "Yes, our society values technological proficiency. It is necessary for survival and efficiency. But," she paused, eyeing the bread curiously, "we often neglect what you might call the softer skills." "The softer skills?" Tom echoed, offering her a piece of bread. "Like what?" "Like art, music, personal expression." "Emotions," Ariana explained, accepting the bread but examining it more than eating it. "These are not prioritized in Zeltraxian culture." Tom nodded, understanding. "It's quite different for humans. We often think our emotions are what make life worth living. They connect us, drive us. Love, joy, sorrow. These feelings define many of our greatest achievements and our most profound moments." Ariana's gaze seemed to linger on Tom's face, as if memorizing his expression. "This concept of love, is it not a vulnerability?" "It can be," Tom conceded, "but it's also a strength. It pushes us to form bonds and support each other, to care beyond ourselves." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another human, Mike, a fellow diplomat from Earth, who greeted Tom warmly before noticing Ariana. "Ah, I see you've met one of our distinguished guests. How do you find our station, Ariana?" "Functional and diverse," Ariana responded diplomatically, her tone even but friendly. "I was just learning about human emotions." Mike laughed, clapping Tom on the back. "Tom's the right person for that topic. Just don't let him get too philosophical, or we'll be here all night." Tom grinned, brushing off the comment. "Mike, we were actually discussing the importance of emotions in human culture. Maybe you could share why you think they're important." "Well," Mike started, taking a seat with them, his demeanor turning thoughtful. "In my experience, emotions are like the glue in society. They're what make you stick your neck out for a friend, or go the extra mile for a cause. They make things matter." Ariana listened intently, her expression unreadable. "And all humans share this view?" "Mostly, yes," Tom answered, "though how we express it can vary widely." The meal continued with lighter topics, the trio exchanging views on various cultural norms and practices. Ariana was mostly quiet, absorbing the conversation with a keen interest. As they rose to leave, Tom looked back at Ariana. "If you're interested, I'd like to show you some human art and literature tomorrow. They might give you deeper insight into our discussion today." "I would appreciate that, Tom," Ariana replied, her tone warmer than the cool ambience of the cafeteria. "Your softer skills intrigue me. I would like to understand more about what drives humans." As they parted ways, Tom felt a subtle shift in the dynamic. What started as a professional courtesy was evolving into a genuine curiosity, and possibly understanding. He was intrigued by Ariana's perspective, her intelligence and her sudden interest in human emotion. It was a reminder of how complex and varied life across the cosmos could be, and how much there was to learn from each other. Chapter 3. The Language of Emotion. The following day, Tom invited Ariana to his personal quarters aboard the space station for an informal session on human arts and culture. As she stepped into his living space, her eyes scanned the small but cozy area filled with artifacts from Earth, books, paintings, and even a classical guitar resting against the wall. Tom noticed her interest in the guitar. "That's a classical guitar. Music is a vital part of human culture. It's one way we express emotions that might be hard to convey with words. Ariana approached the instrument, her fingers hovering over the strings as if hesitant to touch. "May I?" she asked. "Of course," Tom replied, encouraging her curiosity. With a tentative touch, Ariana plucked a string. The sound resonated softly through the room. Her expression shifted subtly, a sign of her fascination. Tom took the guitar and sat down, positioning his fingers on the frets. "Let me show you." He played a simple melody, the notes clear and soothing. Each piece of music tells a story, or captures a feeling. Ariana listened intently, her head tilted in concentration. "It's beautiful," she remarked. "The sounds, they evoke a sense of peace?" "Exactly," Tom smiled. "Music can calm us, energize us, or even make us sad. It's a powerful form of expression." Setting the guitar aside, Tom then picked up a book from the shelf. "Literature is another way we explore human emotions." He handed her a well-worn copy of a poetry anthology. Poetry, in particular, is about distilling emotions and experiences into words. As Ariana flipped through the pages, Tom quoted a few lines from a poem about love. The words were simple but evocative, painting a vivid picture of affection and longing. "This is love?" Ariana asked, looking up from the book. "It seems very intense." "It can be," Tom admitted. "But it's also about connection, understanding, and sometimes pain. It's not always easy or happy." "I see." In Zeltraxian culture, such relationships are uncomplicated, more practical. Ariana's voice was tinged with a curiosity that suggested she was re-evaluating her own perceptions. Tom nodded, understanding the contrast. Human relationships can be messy and complicated, but that's part of what makes them so rewarding. Their discussion shifted to paintings. Tom showed her a canvas depicting a serene landscape with a vibrant sunset. Art can be a reflection of the artist's feelings or an attempt to invoke emotions in others. Ariana studied the painting. "The colors are very warm. It feels inviting." "That's the intention," Tom explained. "Art isn't just about what's realistic. It's about what the artist feels, and what they want the viewer to feel." The hours passed quickly as they discussed various artworks, poems, and pieces of music. Ariana was a quick study, her questions pointed and insightful. As their time together drew to a close, Tom sensed a shift in Ariana. "Thank you for this," she said, a genuine softness to her voice. "I have much to think about." "I'm glad to hear that," Tom replied. "Human culture is all about exploring and expressing emotions. I'm happy to share it with you." Ariana paused at the door, looking back at the guitar. "Perhaps tomorrow you could teach me to play that melody?" "I'd like that," Tom said with a smile. As she left, Tom felt a warmth in his chest. Sharing his culture with Ariana had not only taught her about human emotions, but had also deepened his appreciation for them. It was clear that this exchange was just the beginning of a profound dialogue between their worlds. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Experiment. The next morning, Ariana met Tom at the botanical garden located in one of the quieter sections of the space station. The garden, a lush oasis of greenery and flowers from various worlds, was usually a place for contemplation and solitude. Today, however, it served as their laboratory for understanding human touch and emotion. As they walked among the fragrant blooms and towering ferns, Ariana initiated the conversation. "Tom, your teachings about human art and emotions have been enlightening. I find myself curious about another aspect of human expression, touch. In Zeltraxian culture, touch is not common outside of necessity." Tom looked around to ensure they had privacy, then nodded. Touch can convey a lot of things for humans: comfort, love, sympathy. It's a fundamental part of our connections with each other. But it's something we learn and navigate based on context and consent. Would it be possible to conduct an experiment to understand the implications of touch? Ariana asked cautiously, her tone suggesting she understood the complexity of what she was asking. Tom considered her request carefully. We can, but we must be mindful of the boundaries. We'll start with something simple. May I? He held out his hand, palm up, as an invitation. Ariana looked at his hand, then placed hers lightly atop his. Tom gently closed his fingers around hers, a standard human gesture of warmth and friendship. How does this feel? Tom asked. It is warming. Surprisingly pleasant, Ariana replied, her voice reflecting her intrigue. They continued their walk, hand in hand, discussing the emotional nuances associated with different kinds of touch. Tom explained the concept of a hug, the pat on the back, and other common human interactions. After some time, they paused by a small bench under the canopy of a giant flowering plant. A hug is a deeper form of connection, Tom explained. It can offer comfort or celebrate happiness. It's about sharing space and energy. If it's acceptable, I'd like to experience this hug, Ariana said, her usual composure tinged with a hint of nervousness. Of course, Tom replied. He stood up, demonstrating a gentle, open posture. Whenever you're ready. Ariana stood and stepped into the embrace cautiously. Tom wrapped his arms around her in a gentle hug, careful to be respectful and mindful of her comfort. They stood like that for a moment, then stepped back. Ariana seemed to process the experience, her brow furrowed in thought. That was more intense than I anticipated. It feels very personal. It can be, Tom agreed. And it's not something we take lightly. Trust is a big part of it. Their conversation delved deeper into the emotional impacts of touch, exploring how such interactions could build or erode trust and connection. Ariana was quick to grasp the concepts, relating them to her own people's understanding of personal space and interaction. As the artificial sunlight began to dim, signaling the end of the day cycle on the station, Tom and Ariana concluded their session. "Thank you, Tom. Today has been most illuminating," Ariana said, a newfound appreciation in her tone. "I'm glad to hear that," Tom responded warmly. Understanding each other's ways is the first step towards deeper relations between our peoples. They parted ways at the garden's exit, each thoughtful about the day's discoveries. For Tom, it was a reaffirmation of the profound power of simple human gestures. For Ariana, it was a revelation, a glimpse into a wholly different aspect of sentient interaction, which she was just beginning to understand. Chapter 5. The Spark of Curiosity. The next session between Tom and Ariana took place at the space station's observation deck, a vast chamber with panoramic views of the cosmos. As they entered, a breathtaking nebula painted the void in hues of violet and blue, casting a soft glow that illuminated their faces in ethereal light. Tom gestured toward the view. Sometimes, the beauty of space can evoke strong emotions, similar to art or music on Earth. Ariana, her eyes fixed on the celestial display, nodded slowly. "I am beginning to understand the human connection to beauty and emotion. It is compelling." They settled into seats by the window, a model of the station floating holographically between them, serving as a conversation starter. Tom decided to delve into a new topic, one that was a bit more personal but crucial to their understanding of human interactions. "Have you ever wondered about the human concept of kissing?" Tom asked, his voice soft but clear. Ariana turned her gaze from the stars to him, a flicker of curiosity in her reflective eyes. "Kissing? I am aware of it as a greeting in some cultures, but I sense it holds greater significance for humans." "Yes, it does," Tom replied, leaning back. "For us, it can be a sign of affection, love, or a deep connection. It's intimate, reserved for special relationships." "And is it common?" Ariana asked, her tone neutral yet intrigued. "It's common among those who have emotional bonds. It can express things words cannot," Tom explained, noticing her absorbed interest. "It's an exploration of feeling as much as it is a physical act." Ariana pondered this, her gaze drifting back to the stars. "Is this practice ever problematic?" "Sometimes," Tom admitted. "Like any form of intimacy, it requires mutual understanding and consent. Misunderstandings can happen when those aren't clear." "I see," Ariana said, turning back to Tom. "And if two beings were to engage in this act, from different cultures, how would they navigate such complexities?" "The key is communication," Tom stressed. "Open, honest discussion about boundaries and intentions. It's important in building trust." Ariana seemed to mull over his words, her mind ticking through the layers of social interactions he described. "Would it be too forward to ask for a demonstration? I find that experiencing these human customs personally provides profound insights." Tom was momentarily taken aback by her directness, but appreciated her scientific approach. "I think that could be arranged under the right circumstances, with clear boundaries." "Of course," Ariana agreed, her voice steady. "It should be an informed and consensual experience." "Let's plan for it," Tom suggested, aware of the need to handle the situation delicately, especially given the potential cultural sensitivities involved. As they continued their discussion, exploring the nuances of human relationships and emotional expressions, the nebula outside seemed to dance in tune with their conversation, the stars twinkling as if in approval of their quest for understanding. Their meeting ended with a decision to further explore human expressions of affection, setting the stage for a deeper, albeit experimental, interaction. They parted with a mutual feeling of anticipation, both aware that they were about to cross into uncharted territory, yet driven by a desire to bridge their worlds through understanding. Chapter 6. The First Kiss. Tom arranged to meet Ariana in a neutral, private setting within the space station, a small, ambient room designed for intercultural exchanges. The room was softly lit, with a view of the station's central garden visible through a large, transparent panel. Ariana arrived precisely on time, her demeanor calm yet noticeably different from their earlier encounters. She seemed prepared, perhaps a bit apprehensive about the experiment. "Thank you for meeting me here," Tom began, his voice gentle to ease the tension. "I've taken the liberty to ensure privacy and comfort for our discussion and demonstration." Ariana nodded, her expression serious. "I appreciate your consideration, Tom. I am ready to proceed with our experiment." Tom explained the context again, emphasizing the importance of consent and mutual respect. Kissing, as we discussed, can be quite personal. It's not just a physical act. It's an expression of deeper connection. "I understand," Ariana responded. "In Zeltraxian culture, we rarely have physical contact that conveys such depth." "Let's start with something simple," Tom suggested. He stepped closer, indicating the space between them. "May I touch your hand?" Ariana extended her hand toward him. Tom took her hand gently, maintaining eye contact. Physical expressions like this are often precursors to more intimate interactions among humans. Ariana's hand was cool and smooth, her touch light. "And if both parties agree, they proceed?" "Exactly," Tom affirmed. He slowly released her hand. "If it's okay with you, I'll show you a basic human kiss on the cheek. It's a common, friendly gesture." After a brief nod from Ariana, Tom leaned forward and placed a soft kiss on her cheek. It was quick and respectful, a mere brush of lips against skin. Ariana touched her cheek, seemingly analyzing the sensation. And that evokes feelings of affection? It can, Tom replied. It depends on the context and the relationship. Now, for something more intimate, like a romantic kiss, it involves the lips and is usually shared between individuals with a deeper emotional bond. Ariana considered this, her eyes reflecting a mix of scientific curiosity and a hint of nervousness. I would like to proceed, to understand the full extent of this human expression. Are you sure? Tom asked, wanting to ensure her comfort. Yes, she confirmed, her voice steady. Okay, Tom said. He stepped closer, giving Ariana a moment to adjust to his proximity. This time, I'll kiss you on the lips. It's a sign of trust and mutual respect among humans. With a slow, deliberate movement, mindful of her reaction, Tom kissed Ariana gently on the lips. The contact was brief but meaningful, filled with the intent to communicate human warmth and connection. As they stepped back, the air between them charged with a new understanding. Ariana processed the experience. That was different, more intense than I anticipated. It can be, Tom agreed. It's not just a physical act. It's a communication of feelings, often too complex to express in words. Ariana nodded thoughtfully. Your culture's use of touch is profound. It communicates much more than I realized. It's an art form in itself. Tom smiled, relieved by her response. It's one of our ways to connect deeply with another person. I'm glad I could share that with you. As they concluded their session, Ariana seemed more contemplative, perhaps more in tune with the nuances of human emotion. Tom felt a sense of accomplishment, not just in successfully sharing a part of his culture, but in building a bridge of understanding that spanned beyond the stars. Chapter 7. An Alien Soul Awakened. In the days following their intimate experiment, both Tom and Ariana found themselves grappling with the aftermath of their encounter. They agreed to meet again at the space station's quiet lounge, a neutral area meant for informal gatherings, to discuss the emotional repercussions and insights from their exchange. Ariana arrived first, sitting at a secluded table with a view of the stars beyond. She seemed different, more open, somehow, her usual guarded demeanor softened. When Tom arrived, she greeted him with a nod, her eyes revealing a depth of emotion that had been absent before. Tom, Ariana began, her voice carrying a new warmth. Since our last meeting, I have felt unusual. It is as if a part of me has awakened, a part one was not aware existed. Tom sat down opposite her, his expression both curious and concerned. It's normal to feel a bit unsettled after such an experience. Human emotions can be quite overwhelming, even for us. I have been reviewing human literature on emotions, trying to understand these feelings, Ariana continued. Your poets and writers speak of emotions as a force that drives actions, changes destinies. It is very different from Zeltraxian experience. Emotions do drive us, Tom agreed. They can be powerful motivators. It's why we value them so highly, despite the complications they bring. Ariana paused, then said, I find myself considering the implications of introducing such concepts to my people. It would be revolutionary. Tom leaned forward, intrigued. Is that something you'd want to explore? It is a dangerous thought, she admitted. But yes, it intrigues me deeply. Their conversation drifted to the practicalities of such a cultural exchange, discussing how Zeltraxians might react to human emotional expressions. Tom offered insights from Earth's history, where cultural exchanges had both challenged and enriched societies. As they talked, Mike joined them, carrying a tray with 3 drinks. Hope I'm not interrupting, he said with a smile, placing the drinks on the table. But I heard about your discussions and couldn't stay away. It's not every day you hear about emotions revolutionizing a society. Ariana welcomed him with a nod. Indeed, Mike. We were just discussing the potential impact of human emotional concepts on Zeltraxian culture. Mike took a sip of his drink, then added, "It's fascinating. You know, humans have had their share of cultural shocks and adaptations. It's never easy, but often, the results are worth the upheaval." Exactly, Tom chimed in. Change can be good, even if it's challenging. Sharing what makes us unique can help build stronger bonds, not just within species but between them. Ariana listened, absorbing every word. This is a significant decision. I must consider it carefully. You'll have our support, Mike said. Whatever you decide, it's a monumental step for your people. As the meeting drew to a close, Ariana thanked them both. This has been a most enlightening conversation. I have much to consider. Tom and Mike watched as she left, her steps measured and thoughtful. Turning to each other, Tom expressed a hopeful sentiment. I think we're witnessing the beginning of something incredible, Mike. Agreed, Mike responded. It's a big universe out there. The more we share, the smaller and more connected it feels. They remained in the lounge for a while longer, discussing the future and the potential of their interstellar diplomatic efforts, hopeful about the role emotions and human experiences might play in the broader cosmos. Chapter 8. A New Dawn. The closing ceremony of the Interstellar Diplomatic Conference was about to commence in the Grand Hall of the space station. Delegates from various star systems gathered, buzzing with anticipation and the exchange of ideas inspired by weeks of collaboration. Tom and Ariana stood side by side, observing the crowd's diverse assembly. Tom turned to Ariana, noticing a subtle change in her demeanor. "You seem contemplative," he remarked. "Are you ready for what's next?" Ariana faced him, her expression serene yet determined. "I believe so, Tom. The discussions we've had, the experiences shared, they have profoundly affected me. I am considering presenting a proposal to my people. It is a risk, but one that might yield great understanding." Tom nodded supportively. "It's a brave step. Remember, change often starts with one bold move." Their conversation was interrupted as the conference leader, a distinguished figure from the Unified Planetary Alliance, took to the stage. The room hushed, attention focusing on the platform. "Ladies and gentlemen, beings of all species," the leader began, his voice echoing through the chamber, "we close this gathering not just with resolutions, but with newfound connections that challenge us to think beyond our limitations." As the speech continued, emphasizing collaboration and the sharing of cultural wealth, Tom whispered to Ariana, "How do you feel about going public with your experiences?" Ariana took a deep, steadying breath. "It is necessary. If my people are to evolve, they must consider the full spectrum of sentient interaction, including that which is driven by emotion." "Then let's prepare a joint statement," Tom suggested. "We can introduce your people to human emotional concepts through our partnership. It could serve as a model for others." "That would be most fitting," Ariana agreed, a slight smile touching her lips. As the applause broke out following the closing remarks, Tom and Ariana approached the stage to speak with the leader. They explained their intent to forge a new path in interstellar relations, one that included an emotional exchange program. The leader was intrigued, his interest evident. "This is a groundbreaking idea," he said. "It could pave the way for deeper, more meaningful connections across the cosmos. We'll need to discuss this further, but I am optimistic about your proposal." Encouraged, Tom and Ariana spent the rest of the evening outlining their plans. They discussed potential challenges and strategies for introducing human emotional concepts to the Zeltraxian society. Later, as the hall emptied and the delegates departed, Tom and Ariana remained, looking out at the stars. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Tom asked quietly. Ariana placed a hand on his arm, a gesture she had learned from him. "We may never feel fully ready," she responded, "but it is worth attempting, for both our peoples." Tom smiled, heartened by her resolve. "Then let's step into this new dawn together, Ariana. Let's show the universe what we can achieve." As they walked back to their quarters, the space station seemed quieter, the weight of their upcoming endeavor settling in. But alongside it was a sense of hope, a belief that their joint venture could indeed bridge worlds and open hearts across the galaxy.